So I would love to, at this point, see you guys turning on your cameras so that I can see what you're doing, so I can make sure you're doing it correctly. Also, so that we can be together while we're doing this, because that would just generally be nice to be together. So I'd love to see some cameras turning on, please, please, please. And again, if you're shy, you don't want to show your face, you can do what I'm about to do, which is just tilt my camera down to my workspace so that you can see what I'm doing. This is just an old kitchen towel, just in case you're nice. Who's that that's joining me? Is it Samir? Good, cool. Thank you. Thank you for joining me. I'd love to see some other people joining us. Please, please, please. Okay, so we're going to take out this packet that says seeds on it. Do not take out the other one. The other one says pH strips and nutrients. We're not worrying about those right now. Are you wearing pants, whoever turned your screen on, or those just shorts? Is that James? So we're opening up the seed packet, and you can carefully open the package right here. I opened mine the other period. So that's why mine is open, okay? And you're just gonna pour them out onto your little tray. Be careful, your tray might be kind of popped up because so much stuff was stuffed into that little box that it might be a little puffed. Okay. Let me try and follow along in the chat if you have questions, or absolutely just unmute. Sorry. Okay, and what we want to do right now is we're just going to sort our seeds based on their shape. Okay, let's be careful. Let's not have this explode all over the place. Okay, so we're going to start by looking for these big pink seeds. We're not actually going to use those today. We're going to plant those later on. So you can take all these big pink beans. These are pole beans. And we're going to just kind of put them to the side on our thing. We can also, we'll open up to this next page, and we can put some of our observations here while we're looking at our seeds. What are these? What do you notice? What do these remind you of? And what do you wonder? So what's one thing that you're noticing as you're looking at these seeds right now? All the seeds together. This one's got some seed coat on it still. Okay. So I just kind of took all of those big ones and I lined them up on the corner of my thing so that they won't roll around. Good. I see you're doing this. Yes. James and Samir. Awesome. So we're going to put those to the side. Let's look for this number 2 here. You see number 2 on this slide, this kind of spiky one. Let's look for those and we can pull them all out. What you can do is you can pick them up. So I have pretty long fingernails, so that makes it pretty easy for me to pick stuff up. Or you can use something like a pen cap and you can kind of push them around and make little piles of the different seeds. What do you notice about this second seed that we're looking at? This kind of swirly, spiky one. What do you notice, or what does it remind you of? These guys right here. What do these remind you of, or what do you notice? I love seeing you guys work on this. It's making me very happy. If anyone else wants to turn on their camera, that would be awesome.
Kind of remind them of shells.
They remind you of shells?
Yeah.
They remind me kind of, I don't know if I can hold one up to the camera so that you can see it. You can see that they're kind of, I don't know, spiky. They kind of remind me of little porcupines. Or, I don't know, they look like little Pokemons to me. You know what I'm talking about? And then we're going to grab these, the ones that are number 5 on your list, these that look kind of weird and round and spiky. What do these what do you notice about these, or what do they look like? What do they remind you of? These kind of other big ones. And we're going to leave the teeny tiny ones in there. Okay, so I forgot to tell you what these are. These ones are the pole beans. These spiky guys are called calendula. Calendula is a flower. It's actually an edible flower. And then these spiky ones here are Swiss chard. That is a leafy green that can have lots of interesting colors to it. So it might come out red, it might come out yellow, it might come out purple. What does this remind you of, these kind of round spiky seeds? Someone, third period, said that they remind them of bones. They look like your vertebra bones, maybe. Okay, then we're left with these teeny tiny ones, two different teeny tiny ones. Who can tell me what difference they notice between these little tiny ones that could help us sort them out? What's the difference between the two different tiny seeds?
I might need a flashlight, but I think one looks red.
And I see Diana saying color as well. So one of them is more black and one of them is more red brown, right? What about shape? Are their shapes different? So the more red or round one is kale. And the more black and kind of flat oval shaped one is basil. So we've got our red kale, little round ones, and our black basil. So today we're going to be planting just the little seeds. We're going to save our beans for later on. Okay, everyone has their seeds sorted. I've got a lot of stuff around me right now, so bear with me while I get myself situated. Okay, so what you want to do next is you're going to take out 4 of your Q plugs and you're going to place them in your box. If you look at the side of your box, and we might go over today, but I hope that's okay with everybody. If you look at the side of your box, you've got your 4 plant labels here. And we're going to try and plant them in that order so that we know which plant is which. So we're going to plant calendula, basil, chard, and kale in that order. So looking down at my box here, I've got my 4 Q plugs. And I would suggest that what you do is get them a little bit wet. So start by pouring just a little bit of water onto your plugs so that they plump up. Mine are wet because I did this third period, okay? So go ahead and do that. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take one of your seeds, and like I said, we're gonna follow this order that you see on the side of your box, okay? Take your seeds with calendula. You can place it right on top like that. Take your pen or whatever, your fingernail, and shove this down into the little hole. You might need to make that hole a little bit bigger so that it fits in, but just shove your seed down into the hole. Do that with each of the seeds. What I would suggest with the little ones, now that your pen is wet, you can use that to just touch a seed and it'll pick it up. So get a teeny tiny little basil seed and just shove it down into the hole in your Q plug. Okay, then do the same thing with your little bone seeds. Put it in there, shove it in so that it's nice and buried. You shouldn't see it poking out at the top. Okay, it should be buried all the way in. And then do your kale last. So it should go calendula, basil, Swiss chard, and kale. Okay, get those pushed in there. I'm loving seeing you guys showing me what you're doing. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to set up our experiments. Okay, and I'm going to show you some options for doing that. What I did third period is I took two square pieces of sponge. Oops, I'm dripping everywhere. I placed a calendula seed inside. I got the sponges a little bit wet, and I placed one of these big spiky seeds inside. Then I closed them together. I took a rubber band. I've been collecting all of the rubber bands from all of the food stuffs that I've been getting. So I have tons of little rubber bands, and I've just rubber banded it so that you can keep them together. Okay. Another thing you could do if you have a piece of, if you're going to look at sponge, is that you can take some scissors. Be careful if you're using really sharp scissors, and you can kind of dig out a little hole in the sponge. Let me get this wet. That'll make that a little bit easier. You can make a little hole in your sponge so that you can shove a seed down into it. Okay, so I've got my sponge a little bit wet, and I'm gonna take my scissors. It's better if you have some better scissors than the ones I'm using. These are crap. And please be careful, don't hurt yourself. To cut a little bit of a hole down into my sponge. So now you can rip it to whatever works best to stick some seeds. I'm gonna do some basil in this one. Okay, so I'm gonna take my little basil seeds on my finger. I'm gonna put them into the hole that I made in the sponge. You can kind of see it down in there. And I'm just gonna kind of let the sponge close up over the top. And I'm just gonna sit that in my box next to my other sponge. Okay. What you can do with your paper towels, what I did with this one is I just kind of folded it into squares and folded two of the kale seeds. Yeah, you're not planting the beans yet. We're planting all the other ones. I just folded two of the kale seeds in there, and I'm gonna stand it up. The other thing you can do, using my rubber bands again, is I'm gonna take my paper towel. I'm gonna kind of make like a little bundle out of my paper towel, and I'm gonna sit my Swiss chard seeds inside of that little bundle. So you can kind of see, I lost it. So I'm gonna take my Swiss chard like that, just put it in the middle of my paper towel. Maybe I'll do two just to make sure. And I'm gonna crumple it up into like a little packet like this. Take my paper towel, or take my rubber band or hair band if you've got it, so that I've got a little packet with my seeds on the inside. You could, I'm gonna trim off a little on the top. You don't have to do this. I just think it'll be neater. And so now I have a little packet with my seeds inside, and I'm just gonna set that in here. And then what you want to do is you want to add just enough water, maybe a half a centimeter, maybe this much water, so that there's just a little layer of water at the bottom of your tray. Okay, too much and it'll make the seeds float or it will make them rot. Okay, so now this is going to be hard to get this one to stand up, but it'll be okay. We'll kind of sit it flat on its butt. Okay, so you want to be careful that you don't move these all around because these are our labels. So again, you should have calendula, basil, Swiss chard, and your kale at the bottom. And you're just going to leave these like this for a couple of weeks. It's probably going to take about 2 weeks. You just want to check on the water level every couple of days to make sure that there's still water at the bottom of your tray and that everything is nice and moist. So again, you can put a little layer of water. You're going to have extra seeds. So put those seeds right back into your seed packet because we're going to keep planting as the year goes on. You have extra Q plugs, you have extra seeds. So we'll plant these later after the new year. So go ahead and put all your extra seeds back in your packet so that they're nice and safe and don't get wet to be used at a later time. what you're going to want to do now that you've got these planted is we're going to put the top back on. Don't seal it completely. Let me get my seeds back in my kit. You're just going to kind of gently leave this on top to keep it nice and humid and moist inside. Don't seal it all the way because these do still need oxygen. So you can just kind of place this gently on top so that there's still air can get in there. And then you want to put this somewhere with a little bit of light. You can put it in a window, but you don't want it to be too cold. Right now, my windows are freezing cold, so I'm not going to put mine in the windowsill because it'll kind of trick the plants into thinking it's wintertime and that they shouldn't grow, which it is kind of. So you can, if you have a radiator near your window, then your window should be fine. If you have somewhere else where they can get light where they're not too cold, that's fine too. I'm going to put mine on a shelf where I have some other plants growing and it should be fine right there. Like I said, you're just going to keep paying attention to these and just checking to make sure that there's a little bit of water at the bottom, that the stuff is just going to keep absorbing. And take some pictures. So what you should do now is you should take a picture of this, make sure that the date is on it, or take a picture so you know what date you planted your seeds, right? Today is December 18th. And then once you start to see sprouts, take some more pictures. Keep track of this. Keep taking pictures of your plants as they start to sprout, and we will, you'll end up handing those in to me as your science journal, as your observation journal. Okay. Any questions right now? Is anybody having trouble with this? Does anybody not have seeds? I had one person third period who didn't get the seeds at all, and that was a big old bummer. They didn't even have this bag. Is anybody missing anything from their kits? Is anyone unsure of what to do?
Well, I'm not unsure, just nervous